I think for stocks for the year, the upside case is strengthening. I think S&P above 7,700 is very probable.
Do you have any concerns that there isn't going to be a pot of gold at the end of this capex rainbow?
Yeah, I mean, it could play out several ways. Of course, there could be some breakthrough where power consumption drops. But as you know, we are consuming every piece of compute. So to me, it does seem too early to worry about that as well.
What if I told you the market has already stared down its biggest fears and is now quietly preparing for a major upside move? While headlines scream about war, politics, and uncertainty, something very different is happening beneath the surface. According to top strategist Tom Lee, the market isn't panicking, it's adapting. And if he's right, we could be looking at a powerful rally that most investors aren't ready for.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Tom Lee, let's get back to the markets. Obviously, a lot going on outside of the markets, but the market itself does seem to be kind of looking past the war in Iran, looking past any political event. What is the market the most closely looking at right now?
Well, I think the market at the start of this year maybe had three risks it had to get comfortable with. One is Iran and a war, potential escalation. A second was private credit. And the third is a new Fed chair. And what we've seen, I think, is that we've come out the other side of this Iran war with the economy showing remarkable strength. In fact, earnings estimates have been going up. So I think we passed that test. And I think the underwriting for the private credit looks better than expected. I think that's why IGV is rebounding. And so I think the upside...
What is IGB?
Oh, sorry, the software ETF.
Okay.
Because that fell all the way down to 72. It's back to 85. And so a lot of private credit loans were tied to software. I think that is looking less of a structural problem. And so to me, this means, I think for stocks for the year, the upside case is strengthening. I think S&P above 7,700 is very probable.
What other are the kind of planks that feed into or build into that?
Well, I think one is earnings estimates are higher. And now we're seeing AI, I think, deliver productivity. And, earlier on CNBC, Torsten was talking about how there is the positive case for AI, which is, business growth and company formation. And I think risk premia later this year drops because if we settle the issue in the Middle East, you're taking out, hostile oil premium that's been priced in oil for a long time. So I think that allows markets to lift higher.
Oil is still at $95. I think, and I tweeted out this morning that the market was kind of in the settle-in mode. I think that oil hasn't moved really in a week or two. We're kind of now in this sort of stasis, if you will, with regards to that. Because I think you said on this program a couple of weeks ago that the war was the most important thing in the short term. What are the two possible outcomes for the markets vis-a-vis Iran? Best case, worst case?
Yeah, and these are pretty big.
Yes, they are.
It's on two very far sides. I think one is an extended war, and therefore it's a mirage that oil prices are low because now we're going to have a drawdown in inventory and lost production, and so I think price for all petroleum products jumps dramatically, and then that puts a lot of global growth at risk. The other side is the war is resolved quickly, and that's through all the combination of pressures. I think the market is betting on a shorter war at the moment.
So a lot of the times, the recent years, we've talked about stocks and bonds, but the strong performance of commodities has Michael Hartnett, Bank of America's chief investment strategist, saying a better portfolio positioning right now would be what he calls the sleep like a baby portfolio. He says it's an equal weight allocation across stocks, bonds, cash, and commodities. According to Hartnett, this four-way split is having its best year since 1933 and delivering one of its largest relative wins ever versus the traditional 60-40. Now, we all know every strategy can have a good year. It's like a broken clock, right? But is this a working clock that people should think about this kind of allocation and sticking with it?
I mean, there's a lot of logic to that because, one, we know that gold's been a really good total return performer. And so I think gold should sit in portfolios, which probably sits in commodities along with crypto. And then I did hear someone earlier this year point out NASDAQ and oil are actually good counter hedges. So
Yes.
in some ways, that portfolio does make a lot of sense.
In fact, the technology and energy have kind of been these, two sides of a balance. You'll have a decade where energy does really well, and then a decade where technology does really well, back and forth. And what's interesting right now is that both of them are kind of doing well. And again, maybe your point is you don't have to pick, just own a little bit of all of
and
them.
AI is pulling both of those together anyways, right?
Exactly. And kind of changing a little bit. We spoke with Roger McNamee last hour. He expressed some concerns about what's happening with these AI models because the OpenAI in particular doesn't have the revenue to justify its capex right now. And we're about to go into tech earnings where all the focus is going to be on capex. Do you have any concerns that there isn't going to be a pot of gold at the end of this capex rainbow?
Yeah, I mean, it could play out several ways. Of course, there could be some breakthrough where power consumption drops. But as you know, we are consuming every piece of compute. So to me, it does seem too early to worry about that as well.
Now let's zoom out to crypto, specifically Bitcoin. Bitcoin is currently testing a key technical level known as the bear market resistance band. Historically, this has been a tough barrier to break, especially during mid-cycle years. There's a pattern here. In past cycles, 2014, 2018, 2022, Bitcoin rallied to this level and then struggled to hold above it. Could this time be different? Possibly, but there are headwinds. One of the biggest? Energy prices. When energy stocks rise, inflation pressures increase, and that makes it harder for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. And crypto? It thrives in loose monetary conditions. So if rate cuts are delayed, Bitcoin could face short-term pressure, even if the long-term outlook remains strong.
Bitcoin has rallied back up to the bear market resistance band. This is not the first time this has happened. You can see we also checked in with the bear market resistance band back in January. And it is something very common that you see happen in midterm years. Bitcoin go back to that level. And sometimes, like in the case of March of 2022, we actually got above it very briefly. You can also see we got above it very briefly in February of 2018 and in July of 2018. And of course, for actually a couple of months in May and June and July of 2014. So the bear market resistance band isn't really there to say that we can't ever get back above it, but it is something that historically, in order to really have a healthy uptrend, you would like to see Bitcoin really hold it as support. And unfortunately, historically, it is not typically able to do that in midterm years. Now, could this time be different? Yes, but it's not my base case, right? It's not my base case that it's different. And that is despite the fact that we topped on apathy rather than euphoria. There is a prevailing argument that has gone around that essentially is that, well, because we did not top on apathy or because we did not top on euphoria, that doesn't mean that means we might not go down as much. But that actually doesn't hold water in a lot of ways. What does hold water is the idea of diminishing losses. We have diminishing losses from one cycle to another, where each bear market gets a little bit more bearable. But it isn't enough to say that just because we didn't go up as much, that we won't go down as much either. Because we've seen that happen in other markets as well. Like with the S&P 500, for instance, has gone through periods where it'll slightly go above prior highs, but not by as much as it would normally, and we still had bear markets. So this is a difficult test, not to say that we can't get back above it, but to just point out that there are a lot of headwinds. And, one of the major headwinds that I see for Bitcoin going into the summer is I think that energy stocks will start doing well again. And if you think back to 2022, I believe energy stocks actually found a top in the summer, right? If you look at like XLE back in 2022, you can see they surged into June of 2022. And note that also happened to correspond to a local low by Bitcoin back in June. They came down and then ultimately they rallied up into November. So you could argue that the drop in November was related to FTX, but it's also notable that highs by XLE actually corresponded to lows for Bitcoin. And I suspect we're going to see something similar again, where XLE eventually comes back up to the highs, probably sometime later this summer. We'll see. And I think that will provide a macro headwind. And one of the reasons why it will provide a macro headwind is because as energy prices go back up, then it's going to be harder and harder for the Fed to cut rates. And crypto is very much dependent on loose monetary policy. And as loose monetary policy gets kind of pushed further and further off, it makes it more difficult for the crypto markets to remain bullish for the entire midterm year as we continue to see that take place. So I think when looking at Bitcoin and seeing where it is right now, like, I want to believe I'm open-minded to something different than what normally happens. And the best case, the best scenario for why it's different would be if you look at the 2019 comparison, which we pointed out many years ago, that this bull market here was similar to the 2019 bull market in the sense of Bitcoin dominance was going up, no rotation into altcoins, Bitcoin USD top, very similar. And if you look at the chart, right, and you compare that 2019 bear market to the one now, and when that uptrend began, you can see that it does match up pretty well. I don't really think it will continue to. I think eventually we will have a durable breakout, but I just wonder if it's a little too early in the midterm year to really call for that. And, you know, if you actually look at how this played out in 2018, Bitcoin had a low in February and then a higher low in early April, kind of like it did in 2026, a low in February and then a higher low in early April, late March, early April. And then Bitcoin rallied up to the bear market resistance band in late April, early May, and then got rejected. And it basically got rejected a few days after the FOMC meeting. And then you can see that Bitcoin then dropped into June, right? Just like in 2022, Bitcoin dropped into June after having, you know, not that different of a counter trend rally that we've just had. Right? In fact, if you look at how this played out back in 2022, like if you look at that counter trend rally, that corresponded to the start. Well, I guess there was more conflicts ahead of this, but that was when there was a lot of stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine. There obviously still is, but that was when one of the larger conflicts broke out. It's not that different from the price action we've seen, of course, this time corresponding more to the United States and Iran, but kind of a similar pattern, right? Like where you form a low and then you rally up, and then you come back down for the higher low, you rally up again and sweep the high, and then you start to sort of sell off. So I guess that's the risk here, that we're just simply repeating. And again, I understand that the counter view of this chart. And what's interesting is I tried to get people to believe in the 2019 comparison for years and told them how altcoins were not worth the investment, in my opinion, and how there would not be a rotation into alt season. And people told me I was wrong. And then it played out. And then now it's like people are using the 2019 comparison to now justify. So it's not that I don't sympathize with the 2019 view, but the reason I have a hard time believing now that it's already time to sort of enter into a durable bull market, the reason is because I would expect the digestion phase after the bull market to last a little bit longer, right? So if you think about the 2019 bull market, it lasted about 6 months, and then the digestion phase, you know, kind of matched the length of the uptrend. To me, this is far too long of an uptrend to then just have this smaller digestion phase. If the low is 60K and we will not durably go below it, I would still expect us to retest it sometime later this year, probably in the summer or October, potentially at the latest. So, you know, in the short term, you know, it's not like I'm completely against Bitcoin ever testing the 200-day. It probably will test the 200-day at some point in the bear market. And that is, you know, it's been coming down. It's now lower than 85K. It's still continuing. So I want to make sure that people are aware of where things could eventually get to the longer this plays out. But ultimately, my guess is that we will see another surge in energy stocks and energy prices, and that will then correspond to a high for Bitcoin, and then the next low for Bitcoin could very well correspond to the next high for energy stocks. So that's how I think this is going to play out, and so we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Bitcoin can get through it. What I will say is this: if Bitcoin can't get through the bear market resistance band and cannot rally up to the 200-day moving average like it did in 2022, then that would actually be a sign that things are a lot weaker. You know, I know there's a lot of sort of discussion as to how things are more bullish because we didn't have a euphoric top. But what if there's reason? You know, like what if there's just not a lot of interest in crypto this year, and maybe it takes until next year for that interest to start to come back. So I also, you know, do put some weight into the year-to-date ROI of Bitcoin. And when you look at 2026, which is the orange line, and compare it to 2018, you can see the similarities, right? It's just 2018 is a more volatile version of 2026 because we had the euphoric top. So back then, you can see we had a low in February that kind of lines up. And then we had that higher low in April that that lines up. And then the rally lasted into late April, early May. And you can see how that even also lines up. And then how once we got through that and then went out in sort of late May, June, July, and August, how the market kind of came back down to those lows. And so I just want to put that on your radar. And also to say, look, if you look at the average of prior midterm years and overlay that standard deviation of those averages, we're basically just at the top of the range. You know, it's not like what we're seeing right now is that abnormal. It's very common to have these. And the other thing that I mentioned a while back was we had that unfortunate pattern with stablecoin dominance. And right as Bitcoin is testing its bear market resistance band, stablecoin dominance is testing its bull market support band. You know? And this is a pattern we've seen so many times over the last few years. We've talked about it a lot. And how when you form this massive base down here, right? When you form that massive base, you then sort of get your first small breakout, then back test the bull market support band, and then you get a big move higher. A lot of time, I've seen this pattern a lot, and usually after this big move up, it is not the high. If we rally again, if stablecoin dominance rallies again, then that maybe could end up being sort of a high. But I think it's a little too early to call that with it already only being February of the midterm year. So we'll see how this plays out. Right now, Bitcoin is still at that bear market resistance band. And by the way, if you're curious, in 2018, what happened is Bitcoin sold off before FOMC, exactly how it's doing now. And then there was a rally shortly after it, and then the market found the lower high, and then it kind of came back down into the month of June. So just keep that in mind. The only counterpoint is that in 2014, the high didn't come until June. But the reason why I think that is unlikely to happen this time is because the rally back then didn't really start until May. Okay, and this time the rally started in April, kind of like how it did in 2018. So Bitcoin right now at the bear market resistance band. We'll see what happens. I think the time frame for it this fight will likely last for the next week or two, would be my guess. And then we should have some type of resolution after that going into the month of June.
So where does that leave us? Here are the key signals to watch. Can the market maintain strong earnings growth? Will geopolitical tensions ease or escalate? Do energy prices rise again? And can Bitcoin break and hold above key resistance levels? These factors will shape the next phase of the market. Here's the bottom line. The market has already faced its biggest fears and didn't break. That's not weakness, that's strength. Risks around war, credit, and policy are starting to fade. Earnings are rising, AI is boosting productivity, and investor confidence is quietly rebuilding. But this isn't a straight line higher. There will be volatility. There will be tests, especially in crypto and commodities. The key is understanding the bigger picture, because while short-term noise dominates the headlines, long-term trends are quietly shifting in favor of growth.